Dude, this footy thing can be tough sometimes, and the chaos isn't going to stop. Unfortunately, we've got another set of trial games here, and I don't know how we got through last week without any massive injuries to relevant fantasy players, and a tough one to see Hayes Perham go down with an ACL. There are going to be injuries to come, and we just saw a couple of shockers here in the last few hours, and Cam Murray, it looks like he's ruptured his Achilles, and at best he'll be back at the end of the year, which is a massive blow for him, massive blow for the South and their fans. Oh, I love watching him play, and it's super tough to see this year. And then Latrell Mitchell in the same training session looks like he goes down with a hamstring blow, and by all reports it doesn't sound like a good one. But he's off for scans, and we won't know until the scans come back what's happening with Latrell. But their two best players going down in the one session, it's absolutely devastating for South fans, and their ability to turn around at where they're at coming into this season. And obviously going to talk about the fantasy and SC implications here, but they've already got a bunch of injuries, and Murray was coming back from a hand problem, and Latrell just continues to get injured year in, year out, unfortunately for him there. But there's not too much else to say apart from that's what we're expecting. Anywhere between that 6 to 12 months it can be, depending on how good the recovery can be. So we might see him at the back end of the year, we may not. So I hope that he has a full recovery, and he's good to go come the end of the year, and hopefully they're in a good spot come that back end of the season. And for Latrell, that it's not anything more than sort of a 3 to 4 week injury. You wouldn't want to push it anything quicker than that, I don't think. Like, it probably means round one is a good chance it's out of the question, to be fair. And here's a couple of options there as well as to how they can return with Connor Watson coming back in 7 months, Darius Boyd coming back in 5 months, which is pretty wild. But the majority sit somewhere in that 6 months or so. Pretty much you can tell straight away with an Achilles one. You can see it, you can hear it. It's not nice at all. So that's the big frustrating things out of that one. That's the headliner news. And let's have a little bit of a chat around what's going to happen with this squad. So we'll go to their trial team list this week in the Charity Shield, which Latrell is going to be out of. But when you're looking at their forwards especially, we know with the outside backs that Jai Gray will come in. He's a $550K for fantasy, a decently high price as well for SC. So no real clear value on Gray to start. So I don't think you can begin the season with him on that front. But with their forwards, there's going to be a lot of discussion now. I do really like Davin Wiley. I think he's going to have a bit of a breakout season. Injuries like this can't hurt players like him, but I don't think it directly affects him. Guys like Keon Kolomatangi, it will affect, and he's a tick under 700K. Before we get into that, we do have this new feature on footystatistics.com. It's got, you can click, you type in a player, right? So I've got Tallis Duncan, and you can do quick compare. So it pops him down in this spot, and then you can select by position. So they've both played second row. So I just clicked second row there, which we'll discuss Duncan in a sec. You could pick second row and lock. But it tells you how many games they've got there. So Duncan has 5 at second row and Kelmer has 41. You can go through minutes, so you can just scroll that through to sort of minimum 30 there, and you can drop it down to sort of that 70 max, so anywhere between 30 and 70. Duncan's played 0 games, Kelmer's played 19, and spits out their fantasy average for you at 32, which is really cool. And you can go by seasons as well, so like 22, 23, 24, and that type of thing. So that was good fun. I'm glad that is a new feature in there. Let's just go straight to Kelmer. Once you click on a player normally, it will remove that compare tab. So on footystatistics.com, for those playing on podcast, jump on, have a look how to do that for sure. But with Keon, what people are going to be interested in is him at lock, right? But the question's going to be, he scored great there, averaging 58.4 in 70 minutes at lock, which is really high. And look, with the team having some issues coming into round one, with Jai Arrow not there, Ewan Aitken not there, who are both likely to start on the edge, unless they decide to play Arrow through the middle rotation, which I think is a chance as well. But Keon could be on the edge, or he could be in the middle. Why would they would not play him in the middle in this trial game? Look, we're going to find out, to be honest with you. Now that we have the information of Murray being out, I think there's every chance that if they decide that they want to play Kolomatangi at 13 come round one, he will play in the middle in the Charity Shield. So I think we wait and see what happens with final team list for this game before we do make any decisions on someone like Colo, because I think a few people have gone, see ya Yo, see ya Haas, see ya whoever. Koloamatangi's in my side and they can use that cash elsewhere. Just check out where he's going to be playing, because if it's on the edge still and they play Hubner, who's currently in the lock role in that position, then maybe he becomes an option. And he doesn't have a terrific PPM right now, but keep an eye on that one for Keon, because at 13 he's a much better selection than what I think he'll be at the second row. And if he is at 13, they don't have enough of their guns back at the moment with Aitken and Arrow out, Murray as well, sadly, that he would be able to get bigger minutes with them out than I think if they were to return. Because if Aitken and Arrow are there, I think there's minutes to be taken away from Colo at the 13 role. But for Duncan, we'd have to discuss him because he's played a few games now on the edge. And if Colo was to move to the middle, I think that assures Tallis Duncan of one of those edge positions with Ewan Aitken on the left edge. You'd imagine that gives Tallis Duncan a chance on the right, again, unless they decide to use Arrow on the edge. Do they use Tallis in the middle? I think it's going to be a safer proposition if we do get Tallis on an edge at 451k. He's played the 5 games there, all at 80 minutes, and it's a 47.2 average with 2 tries and 2 line breaks. Decent tackle numbers there at 35. He's missed 4 a game though, and meters gainer at 108 per. So pretty solid for a guy that should be improving. He's very, very young. He looked very good in the trial the other day as well. So keep an eye out on Duncan and where he does play in this Charity Shield. And if he gets named on that edge in round 1, it could be a really fun one to have a look at. And then Lachlan Hubner. So he did play the final game, or one of the final games of the year at lock, picking up 27 points in 44 minutes. So it was okay. He did have a penalty and a couple of missed tackles, 24 made, 87 run meters. So it was okay. He's definitely one to watch in this trial. And if you think that, you obviously look back at his stats from the last trial as well, I'll go back and do that after this video, and you should as well. And then follow along in this Charity Shield. If he stays at 13, then he's an interesting pick. If he doesn't stay at 13 and Koloamatangi goes into that starting 13 role and they pick someone else on the edge for this week, then I think we leave him out. But at 250k, he definitely has to be looked at if we don't happen to see like an Aitken in round 1. We find out some info on guys like Aitken and Arrow as to when they are returning. But I think Arrow seems closer than Aitken, and we just don't have the information, unfortunately. So it's a really crazy team list at the moment with a couple of those guys out, and we don't know exactly what's going on because you don't have... I don't think you have the depth in the middle forwards at the Rabbitohs right now. And that's where I think guys like Moale can really step up into an important role, and guys like Duncan can show their improvement as well. And if this is similar to the team that runs out in round 1, that's when Koloamatangi is the clear leader of this pack, and he will have to play big minutes. Like, there's going to be someone that plays really big minutes. Obviously, there's a good chance that it could be at least one of the edges. But if it's Keon at 13 and Duncan and another not as experienced guy in the edges, I think it'd be Colo that does play pretty high minutes, 65 to 70, and could be a really good selection come round 1. So I think we're going to leave it at that, guys, for this one. Just a quick update on Latrell, on Cam Murray. It's really, really tough to see, and some of the fantasy and NSC implications that do come out of that. We'll see how they look in Charity Shield. We'll see how they look in round 1, and we'll make our decisions from there. If you're interested in the private group, guys, all that stuff is in the description, so go check it out. A nice little read there on everything you get and how to pay and everything like that in the bottom. And please do subscribe and hit the follow on YouTube and also on podcasts. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you in the next one.